Hi, this is Ivan Mashenko from Ruby Red Farms. We grow certified organic blueberries in the Pacific Northwest. Today I want to share with you information about how to water or irrigate your blueberry plants. Blueberry plants have a very shallow root system compared to other types of bushes. Most of the roots are in the first, say 2 to 6 inches in the soil. As the plants get older, and depending on how they're watered, their root systems may go deeper than that, which is very beneficial for the plant. There's a myth among blueberry hobbyists and growers that I often hear. There's an idea that blueberries love to be in water in the winter time, in the summertime, in the spring. And I'm going to pop a balloon in that myth right now. We have quite a bit of drainage, drain tile systems in our fields. The water table here comes right up to the surface in the wintertime. We can have up to 6 months of rain in the wintertime. Any kind of root system in most plants that are submerged in water is very detrimental to that plant. It leads to root rot. There's a lot of harmful bacteria that form in that anaerobic condition where there's so much water that can be also harmful and bring diseases into the plants and harm their health. So in the summertime here, we have an incredible contrast. We can have up to 5 or 6 months with very, very little rain. So we can go from this incredibly wet winter right into almost a drought-like summer. So keeping the right amount of moisture in the soil during the growing season is absolutely critical. So how do we do it? I'm going to share some tips with you. Again, this is a commercial farm, and some of the things that we do here may not be suitable for a home gardener, but I think some of the information that I want to share with you is specifically geared towards more of the home gardener. And so we can take some of the lessons that we've learned here at Ruby Red Farms and take them back to your own gardens to produce a much healthier plant, and that brings you hopefully a lot of abundance and joy over the life of a plant. Caring for a blueberry plant's root system is critical. You know, these blueberry plants can live for 50 years or more with the right kind of pruning, with the right kind of care, fertilization, and especially the irrigation. What we've done over the years with irrigation has changed a lot, and so I'm going to share with you today a little bit about how we water the plants. So if you look down here in the row, you're going to see this this tape here. This is a drip tape. There are many types of drip tapes on the market. The drip tape that we use is of extremely high quality. We never scrimp on saving money buying drip tape. Every 12 inches in this tape is a valve. It's engineered into the wall of the drip tape, and it releases a drop of water at very, very low pressure. The valve has a really interesting and special design to it as well. If there's any kind of particulate matter that could potentially clog up much cheaper types of drip tape, this valve has a way of building pressure up and ejecting that particle out. We also, when we install the drip tape, we install the valves or the hole in the drip tape sitting upright, and that way if there's particulates, they're going to fall to the bottom of the drip tape, but any of the water that comes out of the drip tape is going to come out of the top, and that helps us get more years of use out of the drip tape. It's very difficult to recycle these, so we try and use them as long as we can. So with the drip tape, there's a hole again every 12 inches, but a few years ago, in order to combat or in order to mitigate the effects of climate change, we installed a second tape down each row. So all of our rows now have 2 lines, and that provides double the coverage. The way drip tape works is it releases a drop of water into the soil right below the drip tape. Now you might be wondering, okay, if we're doing that every 12 inches, how are we going to get coverage for all the roots of the blueberry? And so what happens with a drip tape is as that drop of water enters the ground, followed by obviously many more, almost like a cone or a wet zone in the shape of a cone forms in the soil, and the further down the soil, the broader that cone becomes. And so if you go further enough, you start getting the cone from one drip tape intersecting with the cone of the next drip tape. And again, they're 12 inches apart. You can get them in different widths, 12 inches, 30 centimeters apart. And we've got, again, 2 sets of drip tape lines going down the road. So that's a little bit about how that works. Now, one of the questions that I commonly get asked, how often do you water? There is not a schedule to be followed that I can simply share with you. What I will share with you is how we determine when we need to water. And there's a couple of tools that you need to do this. The simplest one that you should have in your gardening kit is some kind of a little hand spade. There's a much easier way to do this with a drill. If you can get a drill bit that's 6 to 8 inches long, and that's 15 to 20 centimeters. And the kind that when you're drilling into the ground, it's going to capture some soil within the spiral of the drill. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get just a small handful of soil at about a depth of 6 to 8 inches. And so what we're going to do is periodically we go out, say every 2-3 days, and we take soil samples in different parts of the field. Now there's three types of soil samples that you're going to find as you're doing this technique. You're going to take that handful of soil and squeeze it in your hand. Here's the 3 things that we're looking for. When you open your hand and you find that there's moisture, even drops of water left on your palm outside your soil, there's too much water in the soil. That's too wet. You don't need to worry about watering. Come back in a few days, check again. If you open your hand and all that soil basically crumbles out, it's too dry, it's time to water, and it's time to water now. Ideally, what we're looking is for that third result, which is when I squeeze the soil together, it will basically form, a fairly tight ball. There might be a little bit of crumbling around the edges, that's fine. That's kind of an ideal moisture for the soil, and it's very important to keep it at that level throughout the growing season. In the wintertime here in the Pacific Northwest, we're not checking moisture levels. We know that we've got way too much moisture in the ground. That's where our drainage in the field is removing water out of the field and keeping that the water table hopefully below the levels of the roots. Generally, we start to irrigate around April. When the blossoms are first coming out, we do a little bit of irrigation at that point. It helps produce more nectar within the blossoms. That's beneficial for the bees, attracts them more, and helps us with pollination. And from then on, we're going to continue watering right into September, sometimes even into October. Okay, so that's a little bit about irrigation. So just a reminder, we're checking, we're getting that soil from about 6 to 8 inches down, and we're checking to see how much moisture it is to determine when we're going to water next. I'm going to share with you one thing that I see gardeners do that doesn't work. And regardless of whether we're talking about your vegetable bed or your blueberries, sometimes I see gardeners come out with a hose and they're watering with the hose. They might even stand there for a couple minutes. Most of that water is going to spread all over the ground. It'll be remarkable if it gets even an inch down. Okay, that is not a great way of watering your garden, and especially not a great way to water blueberries. Again, if you do that, check into your soil, see how deep that water's penetrated. That'll give you an idea if that technique is working for you or not. So it's not always just about drip irrigation. The other thing that I want to share with you is that we're also careful not to overwater. The water that's coming to us is from a municipal source, but if it's coming from a well, that water is going to be even colder than coming from a municipal source. When you pour cold water onto a field, you're reducing the soil temperature, which is reducing the activity of the microbes that are responsible for breaking down fertilizers and providing nutrients to the plants. The colder the soil temperature is, the less growth you're going to get for your plant. So our what we try and do is we try and strive for less watering, but longer watering, so we get water deeper into the soil and build up a reserve of moisture. That's a bit of the secret to commercial irrigation in commercial farming of blueberries. But you can translate a lot of these tips into your own hobby or personal garden as well. So again, less frequent watering, but longer, so that you get water deeper into the soil. That encourages the blueberries to send roots down deeper. You don't want to overwater. If you're taking your soil samples, again, 6 to 8 inches from the ground, and you squeeze them and there's water coming out, there's too much water in the soil. If you open your hand and that soil just crumbles everywhere, it's too dry. Get into the watering as soon as you can. If you go and invest in drip tape, which is fantastic, it's really great for the environment because it uses the least amount of water compared to other watering techniques, then I would encourage you to spend a little bit more money and use 2 sets of lines down your row. Again, subscribe. We'll have more videos on how we farm blueberries here at Ruby Red Farms for you. We want to share this with you, so regardless of whether you're a large-scale farm, home gardener with a few bushes, we'd love to see you enjoy all the wonder that comes from growing blueberries, and of course all the enjoyment that comes from eating the fruit.